Solve for x the equation x into cube root of x is equal to 1. Okay, so to go ahead to solve this, the first thing to do is to remove this cube root. To remove this cube root, we carry out the opposite operation of cube root, which is cube. So we're going to cube both sides of this equation. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll cube both sides of this equation. Cube means raised to the power 3. Okay, now this power 3 is going to affect this x and going to affect this cube root of x. So we're going to have x cubed into cube root of x cube is equal to 1 cube is 1. So the power 3 cancels the cube root. And so we have x cubed into x is equal to 1. X cubed multiplied to x is x to the power 4 is equal to 1. So here we obtain on the left hand side is a polynomial of degree 4. And so this equation must have 4 solutions. We must obtain 4 solutions. If we go ahead from this level to say we take the fourth root of both sides, if we make the error to say we take the fourth root of both sides, then we'll end up having just one of the solution, x equals 1. So we avoid that error. We don't take the fourth root of both sides. What we have to do is to take this one from the right hand side to the left hand side in order to obtain a 0 on the right hand side to have our quartic equation very clear. All right, let's go ahead. This is positive 1, bringing it to the left hand side, it becomes x to the power 4 minus 1 equals 0. Now this is a polynomial equation of degree 4. Now how do we go ahead? We have to obtain 4 solutions here. If we look carefully, we can bring in a difference of squares. We can write this as x squared minus 1 squared, so that we obtain a difference of 2 squares. Now, with the difference of 2 squares, we will now apply the difference of squares identity to obtain x squared minus 1 into x squared plus 1 is equal to 0. This is when we apply the difference of squares identities. If we look at this one, this first member here is also a difference of 2 squares. All right, let's go ahead and still split this. This is actually x squared minus 1 squared. So that we can see that it is a difference of 2 squared. Remember, 1 squared is the same as 1. Applying the difference of squares again here, we obtain x minus 1 into x plus 1. Okay, now we have the multiplication of 1, 2, 3 expressions giving us 0. Now either this is 0 or this is 0 or this is 0. That's the meaning. So we can therefore say x minus 1 0. It implies that x equals 1. This is our first solution. That's our first solution. All right, it also implies x plus 1 equals 0. That means x equals negative 1. This is our second solution. This is our second solution. Now, it also implies that x squared plus 1 equals 0. This is a quadratic equation. Every quadratic equation must have 2 solutions. We've already had our first 2 solutions, so the remaining 2 solutions, we expect to get it when we solve this quadratic equation. All right, let's go ahead and solve this quadratic equation. Now, let's collect our information. A is the coefficient of the x squared term, B is the coefficient of the x term, and C is the constant. After collecting this information, we know that using the quadratic formula, x is equal to minus b plus or minus the root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that divided by 2a. That's the formula we're going to use to get our remaining two solutions. Okay, so let's put in this information in that formula. And so we obtain x is equal to 0 plus minus the root of 0 minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have 0 plus minus the root of negative 4 all over 2. Now the root of negative 4, we don't expect that to be a real number. It's going to be a complex number because the square root of negative numbers is not real. So how do we do that? Root of negative 4 can be written as the root of negative 1 multiplied to 4. This can be split using the laws of sets as the root of negative 1 multiplied to the root of 4. Root of negative 1, we all know, is the imaginary number I, and then root of 4 is 2. So the root of negative 4 is 2i. That's the root of negative 4. Let's take this value and put there now to have our remaining values for x. So x becomes plus minus 2i all over 2. All right, which therefore means that our second value for x, third value, sorry, because we already had two values, earlier two values, x equals 1, x equals minus 1. This is our third value of x. We take the positive, will be 2i all over 2. That will give us I. So our third solution is the number I. Then our fourth solution, x4, will be, we take now the minus here, the negative. We're going to have negative 2i all over 2. That simply gives us negative I. So our third solution is the value negative I. Now we've obtained all the four solutions of our quartic equation. The four solutions of this equation x into the cube root of x equals 1 are x equals 1, x equals negative 1, x equals I, x equals negative I.